Welcome to the Bitcoin Zodiac, the podcast that explores the intersection of finance and astrology, where we use a combination of spirituality and logic to help us connect the dots in the markets. Hosted by Corinne Florence and Claire Marinan, who both come from a diverse background, bringing with them a wealth of knowledge and experience in the realms of astrology, cryptocurrency, trading, philosophy, investment strategy, and of course, Bitcoin. In each episode, we explore the economics of the markets following the evolution of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency through each moon cycle and astrological transit. Join us on this journey as we explore the intersection of these two worlds that are often thought to be at odds with one another, finance and astrology. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor, a day trader, or just starting to dip your toes into the world of Bitcoin and blockchain, the Bitcoin Zodiac is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and come and expand your consciousness with us as we explore the world of the financial markets through an astrological lens. Good morning, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How we doing? How we feeling?
Oh, I'm doing so good. Welcome to Leo season. It feels
Yay.
really good, huh?
I love Leo season. I am a bit of part, obviously, being a Leo. It's like the sun, it's the warmth, it's that like fire, let's go and have fun and be sassy about it energy, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's juicy as well. Like I've seen a lot of
Mm.
the sort of like, I guess iconography of Leos, of course, about the lion and everything like that, everything that comes with that. But I also feel like Leo season is really juicy. Like it's like figs dripping in honey, kind of juicy. I love it.
Oh, I like that because not gonna lie, I actually thought at first when you said juicy, I was like, yup, here comes everybody talking about the drama that Leo brings. And I was like, juiciness in terms of drama? Yeah, just a little bit. I like to call it extravagant. But you know how every sign kind of has their pros and their things to work on.
Yeah, light and shadow always.
It-
But I
exactly.
I saw a post on Instagram about Leo season, and they had said everything is cinematic. And I like that. I think it's like less, it's not just drama, but it's like cinematic. I love
I
that.
like I really like that because, you know, like when you're little and you go to all these tests on like, based on your birthday, what career are you going to thrive in? Like on Facebook. And I always got like, oh, because you're a Leo, you're it's like celebrity and like an actress. And yeah, I mean, I think I did drama at school for a semester and I was not, yeah, not for me.
I love it. I love it. And we're also coming into the Aquarius full moon. Well, tomorrow, when you guys listen to this, will be the Aquarius full moon and also Corinne's birthday.
Let's go, birthday.
Happy birthday. We all wish you the best birthday and the most amazing year ahead.
Oh, grateful for you. Yes, let this be the next best 365 of all my fellow Leos.
Yeah. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's do it.
And
I love Leo season as well. I mean, it's my rising sign, so it's like, it's mine and Bitcoin's rising sign. We share that.
I was just thinking that I was like, you're like Bitcoin with your rising Leo, and I'm like Ethereum with our sun in Leo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Exactly.
There you go. Ethereum and Bitcoin.
We're aligned. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that's been happening. And there's a lot of astrology coming up. Like that's definitely happening. But since our new moon in Cancer, what have you been feeling? What have you been noticing coming up?
Yeah, I feel like it has been, and we spoke about this last episode that, you know, I think Cancer, everybody's like, oh, emotional. And I'm like, yeah, like it really has brought up the emotions, but it's really cool. Like,
Mm.
feel like now that I'm really, and the more I embrace astrology, the more I understand where, the planets are in the cosmos, I just really now can tap into that feeling. And so I'm loving, or I have loved okay, here come the emotions, embrace the emotions, feel it. Like the sensitivity is such a powerful thing. And I think, especially as a woman, I think even for men, but especially as a woman, just tapping into sense of that sensitivity and those emotions and those deeper feelings that personally I have kind of struggled with my whole life, because society, because generations before me tell me that, oh no, like toughen up. No, it's been really nice to just be like, okay, let me just feel and just be and just sit in it, not be stuck in it, but just sit in it and swim through it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. I definitely resonate with that because I think as a child, like the biggest criticism that was, or the not the biggest, but the most often criticism that was leveled at me was like, you're too sensitive. You need to toughen up. You need to learn to take a joke. You need to, and it's so funny as an adult, I really feel that like my sensitivity is my superpower. And I do so much work around like becoming more sensitive, more intuitive, and allowing that to come through. And yeah, I mean, Cancer is my North Node, so that is like my life journey. And usually Cancer season is really like tough for me because it's a battle that I'm trying to like open up and feel more and lean more into the feelings. But this year I feel that it was really powerful and it was really beautiful. And I was able to really accept and integrate that part of myself, of own that, like, yes, you are too sensitive, but that's your superpower, and so sort of like even integrate that like quote unquote childhood trauma, that I really felt that was like handed down to me. But I think that also the people that were saying that to me, were concerned because I think they were raised, in a time that like if you were too sensitive then the world would crush you. So I think it's also recognizing that and sort of accepting that too, right? And so yeah, I had a really beautiful Cancer season. I really enjoyed it. And again, like you said last week, it was like it's really recognizing that how like allowing yourself to feel actually really takes courage. And
Right.
it's like the things that we associate with strength, like, being tough and being, oh, that's a strong person, is that actually comes from a place of weakness and
Mm.
defensiveness. And it's like in that defenselessness is where your sort of strength lies, like allowing yourself to feel everything, allowing yourself maybe to even be hurt, but
Yes.
knowing that you can recover from that. Like there's so much strength in that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, that's really what, this whole us stepping into like Saturn in Pisces and, even the Aquarian age, it's like we have shifted away from that and more, it's stepping into knowingness of self and
Mhm.
feeling and healing. Healing is such a big word that just keeps coming to me. And it's like as if the age of Aquarius is about healing and understanding and letting go of those old paradigms that, yeah, like what we used to class as tough, what we used to class as strong wasn't the actual definition. And that was just almost a running away from things and not facing things. And that's why it does take courage to step within, to look at these things. And it takes a lot of courage to heal. And I feel like it's very aligned with the astrology that we are going through. And, as we repeatedly say, it's just the time for transformation. 2023 is transformation. And I feel like that really starts within. So Cancer season was a really great time to look within and to go through all of that. And now, Leo, the ruling planet of Leo is the sun. And what does the sun do? It shines, it emits, it brings out whatever it is that we worked on. Now we can bring it to light and share it to the world.
Yeah. And I think also, like, in terms of manifestation, something that came up for me, during the Cancer new moon was really, I guess I've been doing this for a long time in terms of setting intentions, is more like, yes, you can set intentions around physical things, that physical manifestations. I'm not against that. I believe that everybody should manifest everything that they want in this physical realm so that they can kind of get beyond that. I definitely lean into that side of things. But really what you're wanting to manifest is actually what that's got, the feeling that that's going to bring, like whether it's a new job or a new relationship or, a new house or whatever it is, a vacation or something, whatever it is that your intentions are. It's really like looking at how that's going to make you feel. And so it's, I think the Cancer new moon really brought that up for me, as well as like, what's the feeling behind the thing, and lean into that, and letting the sort of physical reality sort itself out, just being really aligned with how you want to feel as well. And I think coming into Leo season, that's really important, because it's really about expressing your authentic self as well. So it's like, it really represents, like, even with like mine and Bitcoin's rising sign, like the rising sign is all about how you present yourself in the world. And so it's wanting to make sure that that's really authentic.
Yeah. I love what you just said about manifestation. And it's so funny because on my threads, what I've been threading lately has been so much around manifesting. And I don't know if this maybe has to do with it or just there's a magical link. But like, I just want to share, like, for example, I know Bob Proctor, one of the greatest mentors in all time, in my personal opinion, and that really made a big difference for me. He always said, the feeling is the secret. Earl Nightingale would say, the feeling is the secret. Napoleon Hill would say, the feeling is the secret. And that's what the secret is. It's about feeling. And as we've now stepping more and more into, I think everybody's starting to, not everybody, but a lot of people are awakening to, manifestation is real. It's not this la la land fake thing, but it's literally using the laws of the universe to our advantage to create something, whatever it is that we can see in our mind, we can then hold in our hands. And so everything starts from our mind, from our feelings, and from our feelings and our thoughts, then we can bring it into this 3D realm. And it just begins with that. And so many people for the longest time have struggled to feel. And I just have here what I had threaded, intention plus faith plus action equals manifesting. And it's just what you said about setting that intention, feeling into that intention, obviously having faith. And I feel like that, again, is when we have the feeling of, yes, things can be created, they can be realized, they can be brought into the 3D. Yes, it's going to happen. And then, of course, the feeling of taking action, because we need to take action. Otherwise, things don't come to reality. And that's how manifestation is created.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think manifestation as a word was sort of given these kind of new agey connotations, but I actually believe that we're manifesting all the time, whether we recognize it or not. Like, we are co-creating our world. And whether it's like saying, well, I don't believe in gravity. It's like, well, great, gravity doesn't care about that you don't believe in it. And so it's like you're always co-creating. And so it's just much better to sort of be aligned to that, and to be navigating that in a direction that feels authentic to you.
Yep. No, I fully agree. And so, yeah, I'm excited for, a lot of the things that we've all been feeling
Mm-hmm.
to that we hopefully put clear intentions behind, because as Claire just said, we are always manifesting, whether we like it or not. It's always happening. So hopefully we put some clear intentions. We really tapped into that feeling. And now Leo season is going to be perfect to bring it to light, as well as, we spoke already about the past sessions about Mars right now being in Virgo, and this is just such a good time to like take massive action and use that energy to create.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're recording this on the night of the 24th in America, the morning of the 25th here in Thailand. And but you guys will be listening to this the day before the full moon in Aquarius. And so I kind of wanted to talk, it really ties in with manifestation and this realization of manifestation, but I wanted to give some idea around the age of Aquarius, because we're having a full moon in Aquarius on the 1st of August. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what people have probably heard, the Aquarian age, the age of Aquarius, and what does that actually mean? Like, when did it start? How long does it go for? And what does that actually sort of mean for the world? And really, the age of Aquarius is also referred to the age of air, because Aquarius is an air sign. And it really is a pivotal time for society. So we're moving out of we've moved out of the Piscean age, which is a water sign, and we're moving into the air sign of Aquarius. And it's a pivotal time for society. And it's really characterized by a collective shift in vibration. And we've already seen like a lot of stuff moving in that direction. And Aquarius energy really promotes connection, innovation, and societal evolution through technology and collaboration. So, Corinne, I noticed you also posted something recently about, competition is so old. Like, it's about collaboration. Like, we always succeed more and we do more in collaboration. It's like multiplied. People think that when you collaborate, it's like an addition, but it's actually more a multiplication of energy and a magnification of energy. And and so that transition, sorry, carry on.
No, you're right. I just wanted to add in there that, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like Aquarius really is this, it is a sign that represents community. And I find this so interesting. And maybe you're about to go onto this, but Aquarius is the opposite sign of Leo. Now, when we have two opposing signs, they have a special kind of like energy and duality but between each other, right? So like, for example, we've spoken in the past about shifting from the North Node from Taurus into Aries, and how now the South Node is in Libra, which is its opposing. Aries is me, Libra is we. Now it's interesting here with Leo and Aquarius, because Aquarius is so community. Leo is more about self. So I feel like that's something to just keep into consideration as well as we go through the Leo season, and for the Leo seasons that are to come while we're going through the Aquarian age.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always about balancing that as well. And I think, we see so much, we see a distorted version of Aquarius as well, very much so, where it's attempting to promote community, but it's sort of like this enforced mass mediocrity across the board is sort of what's trying to be imposed, like through socialism or communism, or those sorts of ideas, is sort of like forcing people to be quote unquote equal. But that's sort of actually not really what Aquarius is about. That's sort of an immature, I think, expression or a surface level expression of Aquarius, because really it's bringing that balance of Aquarius and Leo, whereas Leo is about the self, and Leo and Aquarius is about community, but it's like it's establishing and embodying the true authentic self so that you have something to add to the community. So we make up that community by embodying, self-actualizing and coming together as a community and collaborating in that way, rather than sort of denying the self and just saying, oh, well, we're all just the same. We're all just, hold hands and sing kumbaya. That's not really, that's not actually cultivating true community and true collaboration. So I think there's always that balance to keep in mind. And I think we're going to see more and more of that challenged throughout the Aquarian age, for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny how it's like, well, I don't know why I still say it's funny or it's weird or it's surprising, because it just is. Thank you, astrology. How, it's just these reoccurring themes that we continue to see arise all around the world. With countries starting to move more and more into becoming socialist countries, which I'm still really trying to understand the difference between socialist and communist, honestly, but I have to define that on another episode properly. But it's just these reoccurring themes everywhere. And to look at it on a more positive perspective, because I feel like it can get dark really quick. To look at, seeing as it's the sun season, focusing on the light. I think this is what you saw me post. Like, I love the idea that it's so much more about collaboration than competition. I love, like, even from an entrepreneurial perspective, like, it's all about, like, who can we collaborate with? Who can we share our powers with? Like, everybody's superpowers working together to just create so much more and expand. And I love that. Like, I feel like I grew up with such a competitive nature because that's kind of like what was expected, I guess. And maybe it's also my Capricorn moon, but and then I just remember, like, as I got older, I was like, I just want love and light and happiness, and I just want all of us to win, because there's just so much abundance for everybody. So I love that we're stepping into that. I love collaboration. I love just everybody winning and abundance.
Yeah, and I think we bring out the like best in each other as well. Like, that's how we're designed. And I'm really interested in human design as well, which I'm not sure if our listeners are familiar with as a practice or as a technology, as an idea. But really the basis of that is really understanding your own human design and leaning into how you're to express energy and operate in the world. And if everyone was working to their design, then we would have harmony, rather than trying to say this design is the best way and everybody needs to fit into this design. It's accepting, like, that there are different expressions, and all of us working together creates, like, in our differences, creates just a much more cohesive, prosperous, abundant world. And so my hope is, my hope is leaning towards that. And I think, the Aquarian age is going to bring us into more of a realization of that, of the need for that. Or, we're driven by incentives. Human beings are driven by incentives. So when we see the incentives of that, and the good of that, instead of being like, it's a dog eat dog world and I've got to get ahead of everyone and I've got to, walk over people to get what I want. When people see the incentives that actually can really, expand what you want, by collaborating with other people on what they want as well. So I think that's something that I'm really looking forward to during the Aquarian age. I think it's becoming more and more prevalent as well. But
And
carry
I
on.
feel like I hear more and more discussions, from people being like, you know, as we've spoken about on here, it's like, it's not so much even money, but it's about energy exchange and equal energy exchange. And that's why money is an energy. Money is one of the most powerful, most highest vibrating energies that there is, because it all comes back to energy exchange. And so I hear more and more people talking about, or maybe, you know, it's me starting to notice it more, and people talking about like, you know, let's create these communities within our wider communities where we all benefit each other, help one another, work together. Like, I even remember my mom telling me about this. I think it was an Indian community back in Australia where we lived, and they were just these families. And, you know, one was a builder, one was a lawyer, one was a doctor, one was a dentist, and they all just like worked together. Like, there wasn't even money exchange, but it was just between one another. They just knew that they could collab together. And I hear more and more of this. I mean, even as you know, there's rising awareness about potential food shortages, and if there was to be a cyber attack, you know, what would happen to the power grid, et cetera, et cetera. And the more that people, I think, are even becoming aware of that maybe potential scenario, never say never, that people are like, yeah, you know, let's get land, and like you know, have the chickens and you have the cows, and like that. This might sound extreme to some people, but in other circles, this is just their day-to-day conversations. And I feel like that wasn't happening that long ago. So yeah, just interesting, just a reflection as we're talking about this Aquarian age. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the Aquarian age is debated between astrologers when it actually started. So some astrologers believe that it started in December 2020 with the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, which are the two largest planets in our solar system. And this meeting happens every 20 years, but only once every 800 years in Aquarius. And then other astrologers suggest that it started on the equinox on March 20th, 2021 in the Northern Hemisphere. So it is debated, but it's around that time, and it will last for approximately 2,160 years. So we can be flexible on a couple of months as to when it started. So we, for the rest of our lifetimes, we will be in the Aquarian age, which I find really exciting because I love it. But
buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to stay.
Yeah,
we are on the roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you put it in that time perspective, you can kind of see, oh, wow, we're only just dipping into this. We're only just starting this now. And there's already been a lot of very Aquarian age happenings already sort of since that time. But, you know, regardless of the specific timings, the current energetic shift is really transforming society and individuals worldwide. So when it last occurred in the 19th century, it proved to be a time of you know, revolutions in technology, industry, and government, and these are all very like Aquarian traits. So yeah, I think we've already started to dip our toes into that, but I think there's just so much more to come than we can actually even imagine. And I think if you think about it, before, you know, life before industrialization, you know, I don't think people ever envisioned how we would be living now. And, you know, that was just like way beyond their scope. So if we can sort of keep an open mind to that, to realize like, my mind doesn't even have the context for what we're going to be walking into. And that's, I always want to view it in a really positive way, you know, because there's always going to be positives. There's always going to be some scary sides of that and some weird things for us to navigate and some dark things for us to navigate. But I prefer to just like step into the exciting part of it. You're not going to slow it down. You're not going to change it. So, you know, jump on that wave and pivot yourself to really like prosper in this time and also just enjoy the ride as well.
Exciting times to come. We are definitely just at the beginning. I'm very excited to see for what's to come. Oh my God, we have so much to talk about, like Twitter turning into X. That
Yeah.
me because every time that I think Aquarian age, technology, AI, I'm like Elon Musk. And that's like my brain wire and like where it goes, my neuro pathways. And I'm just like literally like there's just so much to come. So stay tuned. And all I can say is just embrace it. Just embrace it.
Yeah.
And focus on the positives and all the beautiful things that it's all bringing us.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to that idea of, it is all about, it really is about collaboration and contributing to society and fostering this like sense of oneness and love. But it's also about each person has this unique role to play in shaping society and contributing their own individuality and being valued for their offerings. So it's sort of like, we're kind of creating frameworks that value everyone's contributions. Like that's really what the Aquarian Age is about. And I think technology is sort of allowing us to do that as well. Like I even think of, I literally trade Bitcoin and gold for a living. I sit in my bikini and I trade Bitcoin and gold for a living. Like 10 years ago, that wasn't, that wasn't even possible. And so it's like all of these sorts of different kinds of things and opportunities are going to present themselves and open up for a lot of different kinds of people. Previously, if you wanted to be a trader, you needed to be sitting on a trading floor in New York or London. And, moving through that now, I can sit on a beach somewhere and do that same job because of the innovations in technology. And that's very Aquarian Age.
Literally, like it's so wild that we get to live this life. Like I remember when I quit my corporate job and I was like, yup, gonna be a digital nomad now. And I just traveled around for 3 years, literally no home. It was like Airbnb to Airbnb and just started creating this whole life. I remember everybody around me, especially, parents' generations being like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Like, why would you leave your job? And like, how is this possible? And like, what are you doing? And like, how do you make money? And it's so new. Like, still, this concept is so new to so many. But it's so cool that we get to do this. And you were listening to this. Please know that it is possible for you too. So make the most of all of this technology that we have in front of us. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I think that's in any industry as well. It's like, you see a lot of people now pivoting. Obviously, we've talked a lot on the podcast about the introduction of AI. And it's just like, yes, there are, people are so focused on like, is AI going to take over humanity? And it's like, look, before you get to that point, it's like, how in my current industry, how I work, how can AI, strengthen me, expand things for me? Like, how can you use this technology in whatever industry you're in to assist you and to expand you? Because that's where you're going to sort of like lean into these things as they open up, and they're just like, it's moving so quickly, it's expanding so quickly. So yeah, there is a dark side of this, of course there is, but like our job is not to is to stay in the light, and that's really like, I heard this phrase which I thought was really, I don't know, poignant to me the other day, and it was someone who was talking about like seeking truth. And he said that one of his mentors had said that the goal is not actually to seek the truth, but it's to seek out untruths in your own life and immediately like disregard them. So instead of trying to find quote unquote the truth all the time, which you're never going to do, it's just recognizing untruths and rejecting them straight away. So I just thought that was like quite interesting. So it's like limiting beliefs that come up for yourselves. It's like when you recognize hey, hang on a second, that's like something that's not serving me. Is it even true? It's an untruth. It's like working to reject that in your own life as soon as possible. And with that, move, as you move forward through rejecting untruths and, disregarding limiting beliefs, you will then find your truth or become closer and closer to truth.
That's so beautiful. I really love that. It's such a different perception point. And we're always trying to seek the truth, always. Or I personally feel that. So
Yep.
take a step back and it's like, and I feel like I got this message the other day, and it was like, it's really like coming to the end of a time of like restructuring, and this restructuring time has really been like, instead of always adding to your life, what can you remove? And when you remove, it like creates space for the new to come. And I just thought that was really interesting, that you said that, because I literally just had that really similar message come through last week. So adding, we're always stuck on adding and searching for the truth instead of removing and untruths. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what this full moon is about as well. So it's like the Aquarius full moon, brings this inspiring energy that, emphasizes uniqueness, individuality, and evolution. Innovative thinking, humanitarian concerns, and then group collaboration. So it's really releasing anything that doesn't align with that. And, Aquarius governs the collective consciousness, societal norms, and group dynamics, really influencing how we interact and perceive the world. So, during this Aquarius full moon, you might find yourself more drawn to investments or ventures that kind of align with your desire to contribute to the greater good. So again, we've talked a lot about, Bitcoin, the truth about, what Bitcoin really is, why Bitcoin was created. It's not just this like get rich quick scheme and this, like looking at it in terms of US dollars. And it's like, no, we're really, it's this, vote for sort of trust, trustless system and transparency. And, we talk a lot about, in the Bitcoin community, we talk a lot about this sort of philosophical side of things, of unbanking and, banking the unbanked, and all of those sorts of things that really, have been a byproduct of the fiat system. People who have really been disadvantaged due to living under this fiat system. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is also just a better technology. Like, it's better. And so it's like, you may be more drawn to dig into the reality of Bitcoin and what it really is. If you've been sort of thinking, oh yeah, well, I've heard people invest in this and they made money. That's such a surface level view of what Bitcoin is. And so maybe this Aquarius full moon will sort of dig deep, like motivate you to dig deeper and sort of like release those superficial ideas of what Bitcoin is and maybe align more to the fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. This is actually also, I was just seeing, it's also a super moon. So essentially just what a super moon means is that it's like, it's really, really close to Earth. Like, this is where the moon orbits closest to the Earth as possible, meaning that we're really gonna feel that. And the things that you were talking about, we already started mentioning when we were talking about Venus being in Leo. And with Venus being in Leo, it's really about like bringing out the reality of like, what have you actually like fallen in love with Bitcoin for? Is it because you've understood the technology behind it, the decentralization aspect, the power to the people aspect, the freedom aspect of Bitcoin? Or have you fallen in love with the greed, with the making money, with the, oh, I just want to like make a quick buck and what's going to be the next 100x coin in crypto, right? And we're actually, as of yesterday, which is 23rd of July, based on when we're recording this episode, we went into Venus retrograde, Leo. And did you happen to notice how we finally broke 29,500 for Bitcoin? And we were there waiting. We were there waiting for this period. We were like, is Bitcoin going to make a decision? We were really waiting for this new moon in Cancer, as well as the shift of the North Node into Aries, being that kind of, I was seeing it as that chance to break above. And it just didn't, Claire. Like, it just didn't break above. It tried. It really did try, but it just didn't. And we actually had, so on the 22nd of July, we had the moon starting to shift into Virgo. And if we recall, and when I've mentioned this on this podcast a few times, when the moon goes through Virgo, Bitcoin does not like that.
Yeah.
And historically, that has been, downside movement for Bitcoin. And so that was kind of like the trigger on the 22nd of July. And by the 24th, we had Bitcoin break below that 29,500 and just really continue down. And that's exactly also when we stepped into Venus retrograde in general. In general, I actually want to talk to you all about Venus in retrograde and how this is such a fundamental thing for financial astrology in general. We have to always think about how Venus and Mercury, apart from the moon, of course, are the two planets that are closest to the Earth. And so, we often talk about Mercury retrograde, right? Which is also coming up. There's so many retrogrades coming up. Oh boy. But we would, we always talk about Mercury retrograde, and why Mercury retrograde comes up so often, or why we talk about it more than Venus in retrograde, is because we experience Mercury retrograde more frequently than we do Venus retrograde. So Venus retrograde, if anything, is just as powerful because it's Venus. It's connected to money, which for financial astrology is really important. And this happens about every 18 months. So as of 23rd of July, we stepped into Venus in retrograde. And when Venus goes into retrograde, something occurs around it, not always in the middle of it or through it, sometimes before, sometimes after, but around this period of time, we also experience something called a superior or an inferior conjunction with the sun. So let's kind of break these down and go through these, because I feel like these are really going to prepare us for what's to come with Bitcoin specifically in price. I mean, now we've seen it break down. So, all right, we're coming down. And I don't think that we have seen the bottom yet. Now, of course, we have the full moon 1st of August. So as you guys are listening to this, you probably have already experienced or continue to experience this downside movement with Venus in retrograde. But the Venus inferior conjunction with the sun, of course, happening in Leo, is coming up on the 13th of August. Okay, so take note of that date. Now, what is this and what does this mean? Now, essentially, the superior and inferior conjunction of Venus happens when Earth and Venus and the sun are all aligned, like they're all in a straight line. Now, you guys can even Google this just to search for an image, maybe for clarity. But essentially, when there's an inferior conjunction, we see Venus in the middle of the Earth and the sun. And that's what we're about to experience. Instead, when you have a superior conjunction, it's the sun that's in between Venus and Earth. So with this inferior conjunction that we have coming up, the Venus is in the middle of the sun and the earth, and they all go in a straight line. Now, I don't know if you know this, but apparently the Jewish have something called the morning star. And I'm Christian, so I'm not 100% sure about this. This is just from my research. And apparently, a lot of the Jewish actually use this, the morning star, which is very closely associated to this Venus inferior conjunction. And it's essentially when Venus is shining so bright that from Earth it looks like a star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I saying all of this? Because let's think about institutions. Okay. Now we know that a big part of the market movers are institutions. And we already see this inside of Bitcoin USD as a pair. And that's the main pair that we're always looking at, right? Because we're always looking at what is Bitcoin in relationship to the US dollar. Now, through my rabbit hole searching, institutions use astrology. Institutions use key things happening in the stars to move the markets. And one of these key ones is this morning star, right? So on the 13th of July, I'm not saying that it's going to happen exactly on that date, but around it, what we can expect is some very significant move of the market. If you actually go back and back test the superior and inferior conjunction with the sun of Venus on Bitcoin, every time or majority of the times that there is an inferior conjunction, price comes down really fast. And when there's a superior conjunction, price moves up really fast. So it's really interesting to see this. Again, I have back tested this, and you see it happen over and over again. Now, not every single time. I have caught some times that it's just kind of remained in a consolidating period. But just looking at the overall astrology and what's coming up, I do feel like around this time, we're going to see some significant move down for Bitcoin, which is interesting as well, because what we're really going to be doing is shifting from the full moon and typically would be heading up towards a new moon. But it's right before it. Like we have the 13th of August, the inferior conjunction. And then on the 16th of August, so only 3 days apart, we have then the new moon. So I'm thinking and feeling like it might just kind of consolidate around there. And then after the new moon in Leo on the 16th of August, from there, that's kind of where their trigger happens and price starts to really go down towards the full moon in the next full moon in Pisces. So that's a key date to keep in mind. Venus in retrograde is so long. We're in retrograde Venus until like the 4th of September. It's all of August. And historically as well, August is not a great month for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Even though it's rising sign, you would think fire and positive vibes for, to ignite and bring about more, price movement in Bitcoin or upwards movement for Bitcoin. I feel like it's a period of time where a lot of people go on vacations. It's holiday time. So they're just taking their profits or taking, money out of maybe their crypto to use it to their holidays or for their holidays. So it's really an interesting time. And I don't see it being that positive. That's my kind of take around Venus. And then, as I mentioned, we also have Mercury retrograde coming up after that. And pre-retrograde period starts from the 3rd of August. So in 2 days' time, for our listeners, you guys, in 2 days' time, when you're listening to this, it's going to be already pre-Mercury retrograde. And again, as we know, Mercury retrograde just likes to shake things up. It's where you can expect the unexpected. And Bitcoin, I don't know what you've seen, Claire, but personally, I feel like I see pre-shadow Mercury retrograde affect Bitcoin more than actual Mercury retrograde. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, it is interesting. And these two sort of retrogrades as well, I think, are very much combined. To me, they're very much together because, Mercury retrograde is very much about communication and intellect. And so very much about the mind. And Venus is very much about the heart. So we've talked about this on this podcast several times, about this heart coherence, this heart intelligence, and this coherence between the heart and the mind. And so I think, a lot of people are very familiar with Mercury retrograde, and it's like causes problems in communication and travel and technology, and, things kind of go wrong. But it's not that. It's just more that it's like a confusion with communication and things like that, and confusion with the mind. And so if you think of that in terms of the Venus retrograde, it's that for the heart,
That's
so
why
it's
I'm
like,
laughing.
yeah.
Oh
So,
boy.
yeah, it's both. So it is interesting. And yeah, look, Bitcoin is funny because I've, like I said, I think on our last episode, or maybe the episode before, I really sort of felt like if we didn't consolidate above 31, 32, then we were going to be pulling back. And, it really had a go, an effort to try and, take those levels and claim those levels. But it didn't quite manage to do that. So, as I said on previous episodes, I felt that if it wasn't going to consolidate around 31, 32, then we were going to be coming back into the 20s. So we have seen that. And I think what's interesting about Bitcoin, or something that I've observed, I haven't really, thought this through. So I'm reluctant to share it entirely. But what I've noticed over the last couple of weeks or days is the conversations that around Bitcoin, that I have with people. Obviously, I have this podcast, so people do know that I'm interested in Bitcoin. But when people talk to me about Bitcoin, there is this sort of illusionary quality around Bitcoin, I've noticed, because people still have this idea of Bitcoin as like, oh, it's really risky and it's a scam, and it's crypto is a scam, Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme, and, these kind of things. And when I hear people talk like this, I'm like, really, are we still there? Like, people still think this? Because to me, there's so much information out there about what Bitcoin really is, and what Bitcoin's real purpose is, and the technology of Bitcoin, and there's really the ability to have the understanding of that. But I think that there seems to be this sort of illusionary veil around it, that people don't dig deeper, because it's not, people don't come to this conclusion of like, that they don't like Bitcoin or crypto. In fact, that it's that because they've done their research, they know fully what it is, and they still are like, no, I don't like it. It really is literally, I heard a news headline that said crypto is a scam and crypto is dead, Bitcoin is dead. And that's what I've gone with. And it stopped me from researching any further. And I really noticed that with a lot of people, is that that's where they stopped. They heard the headline and that's where they stopped. And it used to really frustrate me. And I used to be like, you got to read the Bitcoin Standard, you've got to, all of these things. But now I kind of just come from a place of gratitude, because I realize like, wow, I have the ability to see beyond that veil. Like I see that as a gift, that I've kind of been given that ability to see what it truly is. and beyond that veil. And I'm not someone who's really like super in denial in the cult of Bitcoin. I think there's a huge evolutionary path ahead of it, even according to its own birth chart and its own astrology. It's not a done deal. There are massive oppositions and battles to be fought, and and different things to occur. I don't think it's like Bitcoin solves every problem in history. I'm not naive in that respect, but I think that there is a lot of illusion around, and deception around what Bitcoin actually is. And I think that there are, people who have been, we've been given the opportunity to see beyond the veil for whatever reason that is, due to our own spiritual evolution, our own conditioning, deconditioning, our own upbringing has allowed our minds to be open enough to see beyond that veil. Whereas I've realized that not everybody has that ability. And so recognize that as a gift. And I think that's why we sort of see this stagnation a little bit as well, because, and how you see it pull back. And I think it's an interesting sort of correlation with, Leo season, because Leo season is really about like living from the heart, is living from your whole heart. That's what Leo really stands for. And it's all about,
I love that. So true.
It really is, it's leading from that. And, Bitcoin rising sign, my rising sign, your sun sign. It's all about that, like living from your whole heart, but it's living authentically. So it's like, I think Bitcoin will see its expansion when people start to buy it buy into it, whether it's in an ETF or not. Physical Bitcoin, we of course always prefer to buy its, actual Bitcoin, not, not a derivative of Bitcoin, and self-custody. But I think it is about like staking its claim, its authenticity. That's what's happening at the moment, is it's like coming through this veil of illusion. Like, it's not a speculative asset. It was never designed to be that. Like, great that it goes up in US dollar terms, we all get excited by that, but that's not who Bitcoin is. That's not the essence of Bitcoin. It was created for very specific reasons. And I hope our listeners are like prompted to really explore what that is more, so more than just what it says on the charts.
Literally. And we said it last episode, I believe, that there's an illusion here, especially with Saturn in Pisces. It's like, what's the lesson to be learned for these next coming years? And there's this illusion, and the illusion and the trick for me is that we continue to compare Bitcoin to the USD or to any fiat, and that is the illusion. And what you were just saying about, we continue to say that around this Cancer new moon that we had, there was just a decision to be made. And it was really about the people. It was about the people choosing. Will they fall into faith, or will they fall for the illusion? And the faith for me was really this, yes, truly believing and understanding in crypto and in Bitcoin, and really what it is that blockchain and decentralization really is bringing to us, versus the falling for potentially the fear for the old and staying in the stuck and the stagnant, and these old Capricorn and Pluto energies that we're trying to break out of. And I really feel like the Bitcoin USD chart really shows what the decision was. And I did feel like this had everything to do with the launch of Fed Now. So Fed Now was officially launched on the 20th of July. Kind of funny, because I actually read something, somebody that I know shared it with me, that I think within like 24 hours, the sites were already crashing. They like weren't working or something. And I was like, yeah, this just goes to show it's old technology that we keep trying to like fix problems with rather than actually coming to new solutions. But I digress. And, you know, Fed now, I really feel this strong urge to even let all of you guys know that even though there is speculation around, is Fed now a CBDC? Is Fed now blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and the US government, well, really the Federal Reserve and the banks bringing in crypto and blockchain technology to create this new digital currency? It's not, from my level of understanding, from what I've researched and understood, it just isn't. It's just an agreement, a payment method that makes transactions between banks faster. And there's a massive list of US banks and credit unions that have agreed to become a part of this. Now, it does get pretty dark when you go and read into it and understand that they're only in phase 1 launch. There's all these different phases of them launching Fed now. But if you go through and start to read the phases more and more, it does say, like, yeah, it does turn into controllable and programmable money. They can set spending minimums, spending maximums. Could they eventually go and set expiration dates on your money? Yeah, they can. So this concept of CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies, could absolutely, you know, be brought on and implemented by Fed now. So is it kind of the perfect on-bridge to CBDCs? Yeah. Is it currently, as of, you know, 24th of July, 2023, while we're recording this? No, not at the moment. And also, a lot of people continue to connect it with XRP. Now, even there, from my level of understanding, it's not 100%. Is there talk about, you know, Fed now, even, you know, other banks around the world starting to use XRP as their potential key blockchain for their CBDCs? Yeah, it's a lot of talk. And that's what, you know, I think will continue to bring XRP to the upside. No financial advice, but at the moment, Fed now is not directly linked with XRP. I believe a lot of the companies that actually went and created Fed now, and the technology behind it or the certification, I think is the right word for it, called ISO 222. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head. I feel like that company is very associated, or those companies are also working with XRP. And so there's a lot of intertwining one with the other, but it's not just XRP.
Yeah.
You know, it's Hedera, it's all of these other, you know, I call them the elite cryptocurrencies because there's some powerful people behind a lot of these projects, you know, XLM, et cetera, et cetera. They're all there and connected, but there's no definitive anything. So as of right now, it's all speculation, but just coming back and circling back, the people really made their decision for now, as of this very moment. And that's what's reflected in Bitcoin's price.
Yeah. And there'll be some interesting things coming up over the next couple of episodes as well, because I mean, we have certain things as well, like Zimbabwe is launching a gold-backed CBDC. You also have the BRICS Nations Summit I think it's on the 22nd of August, and they're expected to announce at least their cross-border payment system. So some people think that they will announce a gold-backed BRICS reserve currency or some kind of system to enable cross-border payments as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in this. And yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think that the thing that I find fascinating with the whole XRP kind of conversation is, again, sort of it's a very, what puts me off sometimes. I think that XRP will be something important, and definitely is tied with like the IMF, with governments and things like that. Definitely has those kind of connections. But whenever I, talk to anyone that's very, very into XRP, they can never actually explain to me like how it works, like how it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And this is such a red flag for me always in crypto. It puts me right off, is when someone says, yeah, but just it's going to be amazing. I'm like, yeah, but why? Like, I always want to know the mechanics, the technology behind it, that, how you've come to that conclusion, rather than you've watched a YouTube video and someone's told you it's going to go to the moon. Like, this doesn't interest me in the least, this side of crypto, and so that's one of the things is that I think is interesting. And look, I think there is technology behind this, there is a process behind XRP, but I haven't investigated it enough at all to really have a definitive answer. But I do always think that that's a red flag when people say to me, yeah, but it just is, governments are going to use it. I'm like, well, what does that mean? How are they going to use it? Well, how does it fit in, and, again, that's one thing I always say about the Bitcoin community, is they always have the technology and the mechanics to back it up. Like, this is why, okay, well, what happens if this happens? Okay, well, this is how, Bitcoin would respond or adapt, or how it fixes this or whatever. Whereas I have never seen that from the XRP community. It's always just like, it's going to be big. Wait for it to win its lawsuit. Right. It's going to be something. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's get to the technicalities of this now. So I'm interested to see how that unfolds as well, and yeah, I think in the next
XRP army, you guys got to get your facts straight.
Yeah, exactly. You're very passionate. You're very passionate, no doubt. But like, let's like understand the technicalities of it before you start saying that it's going to be the reserve currency of the world, because I'm not quite sure about that either. There's also things that are, I think it's more about cross-border payments, right? That's what the use case is for it.
Yeah, I think like, I just know that, and I haven't dug deeper, because a lot of just what I started reading about XRP and understanding about it just really like goes against my values. And that's, for me, it was kind of like, cool, red flag. Next, do I trade it? Do I know, you look at the astrology and see when it's going to pump? Sure. We're going to do it to, then essentially go and stack our sats and just take those profits for more Bitcoin. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of just unalignment. And like you said, it's just really the cross-border payments. And that's why I think a lot of there is a lot of speculation around, will a lot of these countries be implementing XRP as part of their CBDC, systems. So
yeah, and I think the argument for that also is that the World Bank also has something, like, I think it's called an SDR. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to look it up for our next episode and look a little bit more deeply into it. But it's like, they have their own sort of like mechanism for this. It's not just like, well, we're looking for something new. They have their own mechanism. So it'll just be interesting to see, I think, how it plays out. But again, I'm the same as you. When I started sort of looking at XRP, the alignments, with digital ID and, all of these kind of things that, digital medical data, all of these kind of things that lead to more of like government control and more centralization just didn't really appeal to me. So I've never really looked that deeply into it. So we shall see how it plays out. I definitely think it's going to be something important. Its astrology shows us that it's going to be something important. So interesting to watch out for as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what this whole talk also made me think about, and to our listeners, this will have already passed, but we do have the interest rate hike this
Hmm.
Wednesday, which will be the 26th of July, if
I
I'm not
love that
mistaken.
you're already calling it the interest rate hike.
Oh,
Because
well, did
I
I
also,
actually just say that out loud?
yeah,
Oops.
it's so funny because I also think that that's really funny because we have an FOMC meeting on Wednesday,
There it is.
Thursday for me, but like, I also think that they will raise interest rates as well, like
Yeah, we're coming
0.25, I'm
up.
expecting. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what that normally means is a whole lot of volatility. Do I feel like we're going to continue seeing a push up in USD because more people are going to be, and a decrease in Bitcoin? I do think so, because more people are just going to be taking out their Bitcoins um, to have liquidity and to be able to pay um for what it is that their normal pays would be, or their normal life would be. I always like to zoom out and come back to kind of like the bigger cycles that we're seeing.
Hmm.
Um, and just during this period, even though it is, I think, like we're preparing and preloading, and towards the end of the year, things are going to start looking more positive again. I just really feel that this is going to be a little bit of a more difficult time for people. And that's why I also think the interest rates are just going to continue being raised for now. Um, and Bitcoin's price for now we're going to see it come down, which, hey, I'm not complaining about.
Yeah,
I'm happy with
stack
that.
those, stay humble, stack sats, and I think
Exactly.
it's also, I mean, the fact that like this, the stock market is pumping as well at the moment, and so they'll, there's reason. That's sort of what I'm looking at as well. I expect them to raise rates this time around. Even though they paused last time, we could be completely wrong. They may pause again and not do
Yep.
anything, but I don't think so. I think that the stock market running so hot is going to give them incentive to slow things down a little bit. And also, I think it's very interesting to note that we have Mercury, which is the sign of communication and perception, Venus, love and romance, values and desires, and Mars, which is war, action, aggression, and conflict, all in Bitcoin's second house, which is the house of money, trade, and interest rates. So, we have that all coming together. So all of that in coming together in Bitcoin's second house, I just think is very interesting as well during this time, and something to touch on and to be aware of.
Yeah, definitely. That's so key. Um, and that's where the shakeup is right now. And we have Uranus, natal Uranus, on the complete opposite side of that, of the chart, like as in like it's opposition over there. So I find that so just interesting. I'm,
Mhm.
like we said before, just buckle up, because it's just going to be, I think, a really, really interesting time. Um, if, as of this full moon, we haven't already come down closer to, that 25K psychological level. Um, I do feel like it's going to be a whole lot of consolidation until that next new moon on the 16th. And with the Venus inferior conjunction with the Sun on the 13th, that might then be the trigger to really push price down. And, Claire, I shared with you recently a class that I did with another educator. And,
Mm.
we he was explaining to us the fact about, if the institutions, if more like BlackRock wants to get in, do not think that they are going to be buying Bitcoin at $30,000. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
again, why do I do the whole spiel on Venus and the morning star and the Jewish and the institutions and all of that? Is because they still do move the market, even within Bitcoin. Why? Because they're in there. They're in there, even though we don't have Bitcoin ETFs yet. There's a whole lot of institutions in there, and they do have the, I'm trying to think of the right word, the power to move price down and create, once again, more fear. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, when we first started recording these podcasts, and probably one of the first episodes, we were talking about a retail trap around 30K.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there it is, like we've seen it. So they want to continue pushing price down, interest rates up, so that they can get their hands on more Bitcoin. And then, ta-da, will be the announcements of the ETFs. And then that's when we can see the big influx of volume come in and really push to new all-time highs. But, that's 2024 at least, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that. I mean, we've said it before, we'll say it again, 2023 is not like a fun, exciting, all-time high kind of year. It's really, really choppy. There's a lot going on, both in the macro of the macro, or astrology. There's a lot of battles being fought behind the scenes, and there's a lot of friction, and it's really not until 2024 that we really see some room for takeoff, I think. So we've always said that this 2023 is really this year of accumulation, transformation, personally and the world, and accumulation, I think, in terms of Bitcoin, and also education. Like, it's really an amazing time to start learning about these sorts of things. Like, I do think, I don't know, I kind of lose respect for people that don't think that crypto is the future, because I think it's kind of like, that's kind of so obvious. Like, whether you like Bitcoin, whether you want to invest in crypto, whether you want to trade, if you want to have nothing to do with it, that's okay. But I think, blind man Bartimaeus can see that, like, crypto in some shape or form will be the crypto, and blockchain is, where we're going in the future. So now is the time to really get educated. Like, I had that revelation, like when I read the Bitcoin Standard initially, I was like, you know what, I can either choose to learn about this now, or I can be forced to learn about it in the future. And I think that's really what 2023 is all about. It's like, how are you navigating this? Are you going to be in charge of this and riding that wave, or are you going to be dragged along by the undercurrent of it, and not be in control?
Amen. Absolutely. And, we have this year, I want to bring it just a little bit of numerology in. 2023, we go and add those numbers, 2023. That equates to 7. 7 in numerology is actually a really big number of, like, intellect as well. So, for example, people that are born on the 7th, the 16th, or the 25th, typically they actually are very, very highly intelligent people. And so in numerology, the year of number 7 is a whole lot of learning, of lessons, of accumulating even that knowledge. And then next year, 2024, 2024 is number 8. And number 8 is the number of money. It is the number of abundance. If you flip it around, it's literally the infinity sign. So that year is just going to be such a key year, not just in crypto, but, as we spoke in the 18.6 year cycles, it really does look like a key year of just stepping into abundance. For me, it was like I just saw this, like, stepping down on the gas and, like, making the car go, like, click the accelerator. And so that's really what's coming next year. And maybe to kind of start coming to an end for this episode, but I know we were talking just before about, another really key number 8 that's happening on the 8th month.
Yeah, we've got our line. It's so funny, Corinne. We're so aligned, because I was going to say, why don't we finish on something pretty positive with the Lionsgate portal?
Yay.
Yeah, and so that's the 8th of August. And the portal actually opens from the 26th of July to the 12th of August, but it's the most profound day is on the 8th of August. And it aligns the Earth, the Sun, and the star Sirius, also known as the spiritual sun. So ancient Egyptians celebrated this event as it coincided with the rise and the overflow of the Nile River, bringing abundance and fertility. And so the Great Sphinx is believed to hold open the portal, allowing this transformative light codes to reach Earth and humanity. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty mystic, yeah. And so it just brings us higher frequency vibrations, really facilitating the expansion of human consciousness into this new dimension of existence. And the 8th of August is really considered to be the galactic new year, and the day when the transmission of knowledge from the galactic center and Sirius is the strongest. So it offers an opportunity for deep, deep ancestral clearing and healing and releasing of old patterns, ancestral trauma, limiting beliefs that are passed down through the generations. So conscious awareness during this time period really helps you shift your conditioned patterns and embrace your truest expression. So, but it is also, people get really excited about these like very profound dates, and oftentimes it's such an influx of energy that actually people feel really unwell, like headaches, migraines, just feeling very, very tired, because it is a big influx of energy to integrate. And you want to integrate these light codes. You want to integrate them to the best of your ability. So really focusing on I'll be clearing that day. I'll be at the beach, in the ocean, meditating, journaling, and really grounding, absorbing the sunlight, and just giving space to receive insights and intuition, but drinking lots of water and just recognizing that you are integrating a whole lot of energy, powerful energy coming to the earth that day. And so if you feel a bit off, then you can know that that's what that is, and just really focus on taking care of yourself, grounding, and drinking a lot of water during that time as well.
Yes, that is so beautiful. Like, we've spoken about in the past, even when, you have these specific full moons or new moons, or maybe something particular is happening even in your natal astrology. And something so powerful like this Lion's Gate to just, again, kind of like step into, what we were talking about at the start with Cancer season, embrace those emotions, just feel, look after yourself. Claire and I was speaking about before this podcast that I can't share all the details, but I did manifest something really crazy. It was the 8th of the 8th, the 2021. I remember I was in Croatia in an Airbnb by myself, by the water, and I just manifested the wildest things that you just think, how could that possibly happen so quickly and just so out of the ordinary? But it did, and I'm very grateful for it. And so, I think it's because I really did what you just said. Like, I was in beautiful Croatia, in a beautiful Airbnb, water around me, just really spent the days with myself. I remember just clearing my whole schedule. I was like, not going to talk to anybody this day. Nobody text me, call me. I won't be answering. D&D on. And just just felt into it. And manifestation is real, ladies and gentlemen. Use the powers of this beautiful earth and all the stars and the planets that God has given us to our advantage.
Yeah, you're part of creation. You're part of God's creation. And I think that's the thing with modern life, is that we've become so disconnected from that. And it's realigning with that. And sometimes when these big powerful energy shifts happen, or these big energy influxes happen, we expect to feel like on top of the world, but sometimes it actually feels exhausting, or again, headaches or something like that. But just lean into that, like, and integrate it and bring in that power. Like, it's about Lionsgate. It's really powerful, and it's like infusing you with the power of the universe, infusing you with God's power.
I just got chills as you said that. That's so powerful.
And you tapped into that, like in Lionsgate 2021, like you tapped into that. And I mean, I'd love to live in line with that every day, but I'm human and I don't. And
we all are human.
That's the goal. And so it's like really channeling those energies and those shifts.
So beautiful. Well, I would say happy full moon to us all. Happy super moon in Aquarius.
Happy Venus retrograde. Happy Lionsgate portal. Happy Leo season. So much.
Yes. And happy birthday to me.
And happy birthday, Corinne. Yes, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Have a beautiful one. And we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Bitcoin Zodiac podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussions about the evolution of Bitcoin viewed through the lens of financial astrology. This podcast does not offer financial advice, so please make sure you do your own research. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue to dive deeper and build off these perception-expanding topics. Remember, whatever your beliefs may be, we all have something to learn from each other, so stay curious, stay open-minded, and keep exploring the world of Bitcoin and astrology. As always, may the stars align in your favor and your crypto investments prosper. Until next time, peace, love, and Bitcoin.